The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour.
ChatGPT did become the world's most downloaded non-gaming app.
Literally the job of everyone in government to address the media and the public.
What are your thoughts, audience? What are your thoughts on Zandy Silva as the deputy PLP leader?
A community that can't feed itself is a community that's doomed.
What you may not know, though, is that Bermuda, we have a connection with Epstein, too.
Things that people are doing right, the youth are doing right, that is not being advertised enough.
When you see your access to US dollars disappear, that's when you have a problem.
If you've got a town in the UK with a similar sized population, this place absolutely outshines it.
It's Wednesday, the 19th day of August, 2026. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. This is the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC Bermuda, Medicals Lindos, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 107.5 for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. I'm Jamal Hartman. How's everyone feeling today? How are you feeling? It is hump day. Middle of the traditional work week, so hopefully everyone is having a productive and rewarding week and satisfied or happy with how their week's going. Yeah, middle of August. We've got James Burgess says, good morning to the Daily Hour team show. Greetings and a great morning to you, James Burgess. Hope you are doing well and healthy and feeling good about this Wednesday. Well, anyway, greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. What's the case against joining CARICOM? Well, One Bermuda Alliance Member of Parliament, Dwayne Robinson, JPMP, he's stopping by to discuss this. You know, he had that town hall, and OBA MPs have had many questions about CARICOM. So we're going to have that conversation this morning with all of you. The Daily Play, it's going to be entertainment today. So look forward to, I think you all have got this question in the bag. I think you should be proud of yourself already. You've got this one, all right? Audience, don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Don't forget, our new website has launched, right? If you have someone that you think will make a great guest, just write us on the website. Let us know their information. If you yourself want to be a guest, you can just go on the website and fill out your information as well. So thedailyhour.com is where you can make that happen. Suzanne Ingham says, good morning, Jamal. It's an awesome day to be alive and kicking. Maybe not kicking too hard, but kicking. Awesome to be in TDH House. It is awesome to have you in the TDH house. Alrighty, folks. Well, folks, here's your question of the morning. What should Bermuda do to incentivize better student performance? What should Bermuda do to incentivize better student performance? Now, when I was in primary school, I had a near perfect attendance record. Back in those days, I had a mother who sent me to school every day. I had to be very sick, like literally have chicken pox or something serious going on for me not to go to school. Obviously, times have changed, and nowadays, schools rightly encourage parents to keep children home when they're unwell. Well, I came across a story out of Detroit, Michigan that really got me thinking. Detroit Public Schools has a program called Perfect Attendance Pays. Yes, high school students can receive a $100 gift card for every 5-day period of perfect attendance, with the opportunity to earn as much as $1,000. Now, according to reports, They're now looking to continue this program and expand attendance incentives to middle school students. Yes, children are essentially being paid to attend school. Now, before we laugh at it or dismiss it, Detroit has a serious problem they're attempting to address. About 61% of students in the district were considered chronically absent during the 2024-25 school year, meaning they missed at least 10% of the school year. Now, when more than half of your students are missing that much school, I can understand trying something different. But it leaves me with questions. Why aren't the children going to school in the first place? Is it transportation? Is it something happening at home? Is it poverty? Is it bullying? Is it disengagement? Are young people struggling mentally or emotionally? Do some simply not see the value in school? In Detroit's case, there have been reports that immigration fears have contributed to some families keeping children home. That's why I'm not sure about paying children to show up necessarily addresses the entire problem. I'm not sure it does. I remember a teacher at Prospect Primary School when I attended saying that he didn't believe students should receive rewards or awards for perfect attendance. His argument at the time was that the reward should be reflected in the results you produce in the classroom. Nearly 40 years later, I find myself agreeing with him. Because it's not much different from the workplace, right? You're not paid simply for showing up to work. You're paid for what you produce while you're there. Obviously, you can't produce much if you don't show up. And the same applies to education. Detroit itself says students who attend more consistently are significantly more likely to perform at or above grade level and be college ready. Yeah? So that would make it seem that attendance matters. But attendance should be it should be the beginning, not the end goal. And that's where Bermuda enters this rather interesting conversation. Instead of asking whether we should simply pay students to attend school, what incentives could Bermuda create to improve literacy and mathematics, academic performance, and actual progress? Maybe we reward improvement rather than simply rewarding students who already get the highest grades. A child who moves from reading below grade level to reading at grade level has accomplished something. A student who has struggled in mathematics and is significantly improving has accomplished something. Maybe those are achievements we should find creative ways to incentivize. And it doesn't necessarily have to be cash. Maybe it's scholarships. Maybe it's money placed in education savings accounts. Maybe it's internships, summer employment, travel opportunities, mentorships, or access to programs through corporate Bermuda. Imagine a student understanding that improving academically could open the door to spending a summer inside an international business company, a hotel, a law firm, a technology company, or learning a trade. That's where the bigger opportunity may be. We talk endlessly about education reform in Bermuda, but ultimately, we're not educating children simply so they can attend school. We're educating them so they can eventually become productive adults. We want young people leaving school to be able to read and write, think critically, solve problems, communicate, and compete for opportunities in their own country and beyond. Detroit is trying something different to address a very real problem, and I give them credit for that. We may not know the long-term impact of paying students for attendance for years, but maybe their experiment should challenge us to ask a different question in Bermuda. If we're going to incentivize our children, what exactly should we be incentivizing? That's the question of the morning audience. That's the question. And we have a lot of educators in our audience. What should Bermuda do to incentivize better student performance? Think about that. We'll take a break, come back, and get to you, the audience.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Alrighty, everybody. It is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. You see the question. In Detroit, they are incentivizing students to attend, literally paying children to attend school. Like unheard of, right? They are paying children, you heard me right, to attend school. And it got me thinking, with so many things going wrong in Bermuda as far as education and education reform, what can we do to incentivize students to perform better in the classroom? What can Bermuda consider? What can they do? And again, we have so many educators who tune into this show. And, you know, I was speaking to one yesterday and says, oh, I don't think we should incentivize students and the like. And I said, I differ. I differ. And, you know, this is a new day and things have evolved. And they said to me, yeah, but I don't think you should just throw everything old out for the new. And I said, I don't think it's a matter of throwing out the old with the new. The reality is this. I was speaking to another former educator yesterday. And they said to me, the biggest problem we face in education isn't necessarily the system itself or the educators or the schools, it's the parents. I was speaking to a former CEO in Bermuda last evening, said the same thing, the parents and guardians. But then, unfortunately, the system has to adapt to the situation we have today. We have to adapt to what's before us today, which is a new parent. That's unfortunate. I don't believe in rewarding what should be the standard. Let me be clear. But at some point, we have to evolve. And I do believe, and look, I was never an academic. I would not say I'm an academic. It's like Messi and Ronaldo. Messi has a natural ability. Cristiano Ronaldo is a hard worker who got to where he is because of the discipline and dedication. Both great players. My point is, you'll have those who are naturally intelligent. They have great memories, photogenic memories, and they're going to be great students. And you have those who are going to have to work harder and study and do a bit more because they don't retain information as great as the next student. And then you have the students who have the intellectual capacity and the academic ability who don't apply themselves. And you have the students who don't have the academic ability or the ability to retain information, but they don't have the support. So we're speaking about various different profiles here. But in my opinion, there are still ways to incentivize improvement and understanding that it's not based on one grade level. Improvement could mean someone going from a D to a C, gradual improvement. It also can mean someone going from a B+ to an A. But it also can mean someone maintaining the A+ level. So again, audience, the question of the morning, Detroit, if you're just tuning in, this is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Detroit, Michigan, they're in their public school system, they have basically they're extending something that they implemented previously, which is they will be paying students to attend class because they had such a poor attendance rate. So they're paying students to attend class. Again, in Bermuda, I remember one of my former primary school teachers telling me, look, I don't think children should be rewarded for attending class. It's no different from work, right? You're not paid for showing up to work. You're paid for what you do while you're at work. You're paid for production. So I agree. I wouldn't be a fan of paying students to attend class, but I am open to incentivizing students who improve their academic performance. Let's go to the audience. What are your thoughts, audience? And here's the poll question. Very simple. Yes or no. Should students be rewarded for academic improvement? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Should students? I'm gonna vote. This is my first time voting. I'm gonna vote. Let me put my vote in. I'm gonna say I voted. I voted for the first time, folks. Well, not the first time in my life, but you get me. So I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes. I'm going to say yes, students should be rewarded for academic improvement. I do believe so. Because I look at school in the same way I look at work. And you got to keep in mind my mentality. Fortunately or unfortunately, I've worked most of my career in sales. Sales is pretty much incentive, right? You're paid based on incentives. And the incentive, if the more you make, the more sales you get, the more you make. So whether it's bonus or commission, that's how my mind works, right? I've been incentivized to do well. Keep in mind, my mindset's different from those who don't have necessarily a sales background. But also, audience, what should Bermuda do? Or what are your thoughts on incentivizing students? We've got Dr. Maria Seaman says, set a standard and keep to it. Behavior and grades, okay. Well, clearly we've lacked standards over the years, right? Clearly, we've lacked standards over the years. Dr. Anthony Richardson says, offer to pay university education in part or in full. Well, that would be like the scholarships I mentioned, right? You know, academic improvement can equate to full ride scholarships. I agree with that. I absolutely agree. WKD Lama says, I don't agree with paying them, but it will be cheaper than having unproductive adult. Bingo. And this is where I'm not criticizing those who say no, students shouldn't be rewarded for academic improvement. But you have to think about what WKD Lama just said. What's that saying? It's better to treat these symptoms than let it become a full disease and have to cure it or something. You get what I'm saying. But my point is, address the problem today and you won't have it tomorrow, right? I think we have to agree to what incentivize means. Incentivize doesn't mean you pay them. There are incentives currently if you have the highest grades, right? You have a better opportunity in getting to a college you want to go to or the job you want. You have a better opportunity of getting scholarships. Improvement is not necessarily having the highest grades, but it's application, it's measurement that a student is improving and trying. And we have to be honest. Everyone's not going to be an A student. But if you see as an educator that some child is trying, they're applying themselves, then what's the issue? With reward, you know what? We're going to recommend this student has been a very good student all school year. Let's reach out to this bank or this insurance company or this hotel to see if they can do a shadow opportunity to understand what it's like to be in this workforce. And if you know they're great at math, reach out to a local grocery store and see if they can maybe work as a cashier or help count the cashier till after the day, at end of the day. That's what I'm talking about by incentivizing. What are your thoughts, audience? Dr. Maria Seaman says, as a parent, I had one rule for our girls. My job is to keep the house. Your job is to keep school. Do well. That was it. But what was the point of school, Dr. Seaman? And I think that's the conversation right there. What is the point of sending children to school? What is the point of us going to school? What is the point of it? What is the point of academia? And I think if we all agree that the point of formal education is to ensure that students become productive adults, then what would be the challenge in rewarding them for academic improvement? What's the challenge? No, Dr. Seaman may say, well, the incentive is you have a shelter, a house to live in. Fair enough. We've got Suzanne Ingham says, that is an awesome idea, Dr. Seaman. I love it. And stick to the standard. Educators, where are you this morning? How do you feel about this? What are your thoughts? Where are you at with this? The poll is 50-50. The poll is 50-50. Is there anyone who hasn't participated? Should students be rewarded for academic improvement? 1 for yes, 2 for no. I mean, it's split right down the line. Should students be rewarded for academic improvement? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Let us know your thoughts. We've got Dr. Seaman says, so you can survive in Bermuda, also doing what you really want. Okay, so I think Dr. Seaman's answering the question, what's the purpose of going to school? Well, Dr. Seaman, our ancestors didn't need school to survive in Bermuda and do what they really wanted to do, which was raise their family and work hard and so on. I'm not trying to be that guy, but you get where I'm going with this. I think, while I appreciate your point, times have changed and we have to meet people where they are, right? Standards change. And by saying standards change, it doesn't mean that standards drop. Let me be very clear. They don't drop. They just change. They shift. For instance, if you told me as a student that the incentive, you all know this. I absolutely hated school. I didn't like it. I didn't like school until I started studying television and radio in college. That's a fact. It's my truth. If you told me as a student that I could go and shadow the captain or Lady T, the captain I think is still on radio these days, or Lady T, Tina Evans goes by now, or Glenn Blakeney, if you told me I could go shadow them as a child, if I improved my reading or math, that would have been an incentive for me because those were like celebrities to me at the time. You get what I'm saying, audience? That was the incentive for me. It would have been, at least. All right, let us know again. Poll question: should students be rewarded for academic improvement? And also, what do you think about Bermuda incentivizing students? Patrick Chapman says, I find when children are incentivized to do things, they grow up, not wanting to do things unless they are being rewarded in their later age. I see your point, Patrick. But the truth is, we may not want to accept this. Tell me if I'm wrong. All children are incentivized. Even what Dr. Seaman said earlier, right? Dr. Seaman said, as a parent, I had one rule for our girls. My job is to keep the house. Your job is to keep school. Do well. That's it. You're incentivizing them. I don't think the argument here is reward or incentivizing. The argument is what should be incentivizing them with? What should we be rewarding them with? Because when you tell children to do something, you're doing it. You're telling them to do it because there's a reward. Be nice, or else you're not going to get this. Or you take the tablet away. Children are already incentivized. I really think it comes down to what the reward is. Yeah. We've got Toledo Brewery says, parents' involvement is crucial to a child's success. It would be more effective to offer incentives to parents who struggle to ensure their children attend school and make progress. No, Toledo is on to something. Again, I mentioned earlier, parents and guardians. That's the biggest challenge we have today. You're dealing with a different kind of parent. You are. You are. Now, I want to say this, though. I'm personally against the idea of rewarding children for attending school and rewarding parents for attending school. I, for one, agree with I'll just tell you, it was Mr. Carlton Johnson. He was a former teacher at Prospect Primary. He was the one who said it back in the day. I don't think we should reward children for perfect attendance because they will never be rewarded just for showing up to work. If anybody in this audience tells me that they're paid just for showing up to work, I would tell you you're a liar. Seriously. None of us is paid just to show up to work. We are paid for the work we do when we get there. So I don't believe that children or parents should be incentivized for children just going to school. I don't agree with that at all. Dr. Maria Siemens says, discipline and obedience at home and at school produces responsible adults. Reward, have a job you like. Yeah, I at least that should be the case, Dr. Seaman. It's hard to disagree with you on that. It is. As you're an educator and a parent. 9/11 Island Girl says, if we incentivize what should be the norm, what do we do for students who have a myriad of challenges who will never achieve academically, given that schools for children with special needs don't exist? But that's the thing. The norm is not the norm. And I think that's where I'm including myself in this. Anyone going 40 needs to understand the norm is not the norm anymore. The norm, our greatest challenge as we get older is accepting change. And that to me is as big a hindrance as those coming behind us, right? There's no norm. I don't say that with pride either, folks, but there's no norm. There should be standards, but there's no norm. There was a time that the norm was for people to leave school and provide for their families. Then the norm became you go to college and you got a degree and you go and get a job. Things change. Times evolve. Yeah? So I don't agree with the idea that there's no. The norm and the standards, those are different. But the idea of a norm, it changes. Cameron Fox says the parent's job is to motivate the child to want to improve. Anything over 90% is $100 for my children. Yeah, I agree. We haven't discussed this, and we've got to run because we've got a very important guest, MP Dwayne Robinson, coming up to talk about CARICOM. But I want to say this much. We are dealing with a different parent. I don't want to be too disrespectful about that. I had a mother who fought for me. I remember when my mom passed, a friend of mine's mom, she passed earlier this year, called me and said, man, your mom showed up to every PTA meeting. My mother knew what challenges she had with me, but she had the support to know that she needed other support. My mother was not my son person. She knew who I was. You're dealing with a different parent today. I'll leave it at that. I've been a coach. I've been a mentor. I know what kind of parents I've had to deal with. Charles H. Jeffs II says, does it have to be one or the other? Showing up in school is a starting point for production. I disagree. Unless one is in sales, production is subjective for many jobs. We pay our MPs incentives for showing up. We don't. That's ridiculous, Charles. We don't pay our MPs and senators to show up. We pay them to show up and work. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You accept that they just show up, but we don't pay. I'm going to ask MP Dwayne Robinson. Are you paid just to show up to work, or are you paid to work? That's ridiculous, Charles. We don't pay them for that. That's what you all accept. But we don't pay them for that. There's not a damn person that goes to work today that is paid just for showing up. That's ridiculous. And I guarantee you, if anybody put their hand up publicly to their boss and said, oh, I got paid just for showing up, I bet you the door will swing the other way. I guarantee you it will. That is ridiculous. Not a damn person tuning into this show right now gets paid for showing up. Not a damn person. That's a lie, if ever there was one told. I highly disagree with that. Highly disagree. Maybe he's being facetious. Anyway, majority of you feel by slightly, 54% say students should be rewarded for academic improvement. Okay, so no, 54% say no. Students shouldn't be rewarded for academic improvement. Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right, folks. Well, we've got to do things you should know. MP Robinson's coming up. So let's show some love to Titan Express and Secure. Then we'll do Teo's things you should know. We'll go to a break. And then we've got MP Dwayne Robinson talking about CARICOM. Stick with us. Don't go anywhere. The Daily Discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Titan Express delivers safe, professional, and reliable transportation and tours across the island. From island tours to cultural expressions, they set their standard. And Secure is your go-to for property management, waste management, and residential and commercial services. Visit securebda.com. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is their commitment to you. Alrighty, let's see what Teo Dill has for us in today's Something He Thinks We Should Know.
Good morning, I'm Teo Dill, and welcome to today's episode of Something You Need to Know on TDH. Now, the Jason Arday story, you've seen this all over your socials for the last few weeks, should probably make all of us a little uncomfortable. Now, there were legitimate questions raised about the Cambridge professor's academic work. Investigators identified more than 100 passages in his doctoral thesis that appeared to resemble earlier sources. That is not trivial, that matters. However, Liverpool John Moores University, which awarded him the doctorate, conducted its own investigation and concluded that the issues amounted to honest and reasonable errors rather than deliberate plagiarism. Arday acknowledged mistakes, but maintained he never intentionally tried to pass off another person's work as his own. We should at least allow for the possibility that this is true. Maybe they were mistakes. Maybe some were not. That's precisely why investigation matters. But somewhere along the way, the focus shifted. Britain stopped asking whether Jason Arday plagiarized his PhD and started interrogating Jason Arday himself as a person. His running, his fundraising, his previous jobs, his speeches, his entire personal history. At that point, the question changes, and I found myself asking, why? Like, why? This was not a prime minister. This wasn't an MP. He didn't control public money. He hadn't physically harmed anybody. He was a sociology professor with disputed citations in a 15-year-old thesis. So how did that become a worldwide scandal? And the answer, increasingly, is that we are developing a deeply, deeply unhealthy relationship with suspicion. Look at Erica Kirk, and I am no fan of Turning Point USA or the Kirks or anything, right? But since Charlie Kirk was murdered, a wave of theories has circulated suggesting that his widow, his wife, the mother of his children, may have been involved in killing him. In fact, Candace Owens, one of the most prominent political commentators in the U.S., has repeatedly implied that Erica and others around Turning Point USA may know more about the circumstances of his death than they are admitting. These claims have built a huge audience and an even larger echo chamber. But what's the actual evidence against Erica? For many people, it comes down to something far more subjective. They just don't like how she behaved. She didn't grieve in the right way. She appeared composed too soon. Something she said felt off. And somehow, I find that weird because therefore, she was involved in causing her husband's murder. That leap's not just speculative, right? It's dangerous. And Bermuda needs to be particularly careful about this impulse. We've seen versions of this dynamic play out locally. Dissatisfaction with someone's behavior quickly hardens into rumor, then accusation, and eventually reputational damage that is difficult, sometimes impossible to undo, even when evidence, real evidence, is thin or even completely absent. And the scale matters, right? Because Britain's got nearly 70 million folks that live there. We've got about 60,000 or so. So here, rumors don't get lost in the noise of the internet. They follow you to work. They follow your spouse. They follow your kids into school. And because everyone knows someone who knows someone, I heard becomes everybody knows with alarming speed. And that kind of environment can destroy reputations, livelihoods, and relationships without a single proven fact. Jason R. Day eventually resigned from Cambridge under intense public pressure, and days later, he was dead as a result of what's believed to be him ending his own life. Now, that doesn't mean every allegation was false, and it doesn't mean the journalists should not investigate wrongdoing, but it does highlight something really important. Accountability and destruction, they're not the same thing. We can believe someone may have done something wrong, right? We can ask hard questions. We can even dislike a person. But especially on an island this small, before we join the pile-on, we should pause and ask, what exactly are we trying to accomplish here? That's just something you need to know for today here on TDH. I'm Teo Dill. Back to the show.
Thanks for that, Teo. So I didn't know much about that situation, but it's a very sad situation. We literally, especially when we have the power of the keyboard, we bully people literally to death. At no point did Teo or is anyone making excuses for any wrongdoing. But at what point do we say enough is enough? I didn't know a lot about the story about the gentleman, but we have this idea that beating people down makes our lives better. It doesn't. I just want to go to Charles' comment before we go to the days of the year. He says, "You're missing my point. We don't have an incentive plan for the production. Many show up and say or do nothing, especially backbenchers and opposition representatives." I get that point, Charles, but there's still an incentive. The incentive comes down to the general public is my point. They can show up and do nothing. If Dwayne Robinson sitting here this morning is in the house doing nothing, then the people can vote him out next election. There is an incentive, but we, the people, are too lazy to do our part. That's my point. There's an incentive. There's an incentive. I'm not going to go there. All the best to Curtis Dickinson, backbencher, who's been quiet in the backbench, is going for leadership at the PLP and Premier. Alrighty, folks, days of the year. Here we go. It's World Photography Day. World Photography Day. And I guess my question to you all this morning for World Photography Day, what is the best photograph or most scenic place to take a photograph in Bermuda? The most picturesque place you believe to take a picture in Bermuda? You know what I like? I like that shot down on Flats. You know, Flats Bridge facing North Shore. No, I'm saying North Shore. It's all North Shore. But on the bridge facing back away from the aquarium, I like that shot of the houses and the water. But what do you think? In honor of World Photography Day, what is the most scenic and picturesque place to take a photo in Bermuda? We'll take this quick break. We'll be back with our good friend, MP Dwayne Robinson. Do not go anywhere. Stick with us.
Guess what? Bermuda's most popular game is back. That's right, ShoeBuy is back in stores. But wait, there's more. The brand new ShoeBuy Summer Edition is here too. Bring the laughs, the vibes, the friendly chaos to your barbecues and summer get-togethers with Bermuda's favorite game. Don't miss your chance to get yours. Visit BermudaTrivia.com and follow Bermuda Trivia on social media to learn more.
One Lucky Bucks in the summer edition has a golden ticket with the chance to win a grand prize courtesy of One Communications.
Hi there, welcome to Medical House. We're located at number 6 Bakery Lane. I can't wait to show you all of the great stuff that we carry. Come on inside, let's see. Long days, long shifts, you no longer have to endure comfortable underwear. Designed by nurses, we now offer premium undergarments by Swoop that are unique, fun, comfortable, and functional. The only underwear you'll ever want to wear. Who says high-quality functional products can't be stylish and comfortable at the same time?
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It, freshness at your doorstep, delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Ace boy, I see you got your US cash. Traveling again? Rich auntie, you know what's your secret?
Nah, I just use the new HSBC Bermuda travel website.
I know about cash back, but it's got a travel website too?
Yeah, and it's lit. Flights, hotels, rentals, book it all in one spot and use your reward points instantly. No blackout dates, no delays. I'm going, bro.
What you mean use your points instantly?
Yeah, bro. Go on the site, see how many points you've got from all that shopping you've been doing. And if you ain't got enough for what you want, just use your HSBC credit card and top it up with some more points.
Okay, spend the points, stack some more. I see, I'm got you now.
I know, right?
Log on to redeem.hsbc.bm. Book your travel deal. Pay with your points. No blackout dates. Easy and hassle-free. Visit redeem.hsbc.bm and get going. HSBC. Opening up a world of opportunity. HSBC is licensed to conduct banking and investment business by the Bermuda Monetary Authority.
Ever taken medication and thought, why is this hitting me so hard? Or why isn't this doing anything at all? Here's something you may not know. Your body processes medication the same way it needs to process food, using enzymes. And these enzymes metabolize medication so it can be converted into its useful form or removed from your body. Pharmacogenetics looks at how your DNA influences the way your body metabolizes or breaks down medications. It helps explain why a drug that works well for one person causes side effects in another and barely works at all for someone else. That means the same pill at the same dose can feel very different from one person to the next. It's not about blame, it's not about doing something wrong, it's simply biology. And once you know what works best for you, medication decisions stop being guesswork and start becoming personalized.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. Jamal Hartman here. This is the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC Bermuda, Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 1075 for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. Folks, do not forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Folks, without further ado, before we do that, I did say it's World Photography Day, and I was trying to explain it. Thank you, Charles. He says, I think Flats Village is what you were trying to say. Yes, on the bridge, looking back into Flats Village. Awesome shot. We've got top of Gibbs Hill Lighthouse pointing towards St. George, says WKD Lama. From Gibbs Hill Lighthouse and yes, Flats Inlet, says Dorian. We've got Dr. Anthony Richardson, Gibbs Hill Lighthouse and town cut as the boats or ships pass by. Yeah, indeed. Anywhere with ocean background, says Sean at 911 Girl. All right, folks. Let's give a warm TDH welcome. Very special guest for the day. We're a bit behind, but he has been one of the most outspoken, probably one of the most likable. And there aren't many who are that likable in this space these days. But hey, in the Trump era, it's hard to find likable politicians. Well, let's give a warm TDH welcome to our very special guest today, MP Dwayne Robinson. Oops, that's not the music we want. Nope, that's not. There we go. Yes. Good morning, MP. How are you?
You see how I did a little DIY back there?
I see you. I see. Oh, you're a Somerset fan?
Oh, you already know. You already knew that.
Okay, I see like this red and blue back there.
Yes.
You did that purposely?
Yes. You already know.
But you did that purposely.
Well,
like, why would
it's what I hear. It's what I hear, but I liked how it came out.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Audience, wow. I mean, you know, MP, congratulations on your Somerset victory. How's that?
And quite a victory it was. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
He could have said, thank you, audience. You know, I want to ask you though. It's World Photography Day. What are your thoughts? What do you think is the best picture you could get of Bermuda and where?
Well, because I'm the MP at C30, I'm gonna say Gibbs Hill Lighthouse. I saw a few people already said that, but it is actually got a great view in that sound, especially when you get to the top and you take a picture, or if you're on the mound. But yeah, it's definitely one. But I will give a shout out to some spots in St. George's, because they have some picturesque backdrops and more high points, I think, to get a better shot at it. So I don't want to give too much props to St. George's, but you know, they do have some great shots there.
It's a beautiful place to visit and cheer for 2 days of the year every now and then. Real quickly, before we get into today's conversation about CARICOM, we were talking earlier about incentivizing students, and someone mentioned, you know, MPs not being incentivized to show up to work. They're literally, they just show up. Some of them don't even show up. Some of them show up to the backbench and don't say anything until it's time to put their name forward for a leadership position. But what are your comments to that? Like, about, do you think MPs are incentivized to actually work?
I think the incentive is there, right? Because you need to face the electorate in order to get reelected. So there's definitely an incentive there to work. However, there is no kind of rubric to say, well, an MP needs to put out 4 op-eds a week, or an MP needs to make 2 speeches or have 2 BBC or Daily Hour interviews in a month. You know, like, there's no rubric. So MPs are allowed to kind of define their own styles of getting reelected and connecting with the people and advocating for the people. I do believe that with 36 representatives, not all 36 are going to speak every session. And I think people have identified that some of the 36 don't speak at all at times. And so it does appear that way. But at the end of the day, you have to kind of mirror your constituency, right? I know my constituency likes accessibility. They like being able to pick up the phone and call somebody. They may not necessarily be tuned into the house, but they are reading the newspaper, they are reading Burn News, they are tuned into the Daily Hour. So I think that there is an incentive there, but I understand the point being made that you're not getting the same payout from every single MP. And I think that comes down to what your point was, Jamal, which is when you have to use your voice to say, well, you're not representing me the way I would like to be represented. And if you get a bunch of people to say that, then that MP knows, okay, I need to shift, or I'm going to get voted out.
And that's it. I get what the commenter was saying, but again, I put it back on the people of Bermuda. And I want to shift gears, get into CARICOM because we're on time, but I will say this. If the people of Bermuda don't care if someone's speaking up for them in the house, and all they care about is what they tell them on the doorstep or how they make them feel, then they get what they deserve. I can say that. You can't. But we get what we deserve. And I think if we were serious about holding MPs accountable, if we were serious about MPs representing us in the House and beyond, then we would actually do things that technology allows us to retrieve very easily, like what's their attendance record? How many times have they spoken? With Hansard, with all of that, we can literally just go online at our fingertips, the same way we moan and complain about stuff, and literally find out, well, how many times has Dwayne Robinson actually spoken up? What issues? Folks, it's easier than we think. But we like to feel good. We like to put these MPs as, your colleagues. Sorry, I'm saying this while you're present, but put them on
Yes.
these pedestals. And if they tell us things that make us feel good rather than actually work on our behalf, then hey, it is what it is. But let's move on, because you're not here to hear me complain about MPs and lack of whatever.
I heard a lot.
I'm sure. But look, let's jump into CARICOM, right? We've had numerous conversations on this show about CARICOM. We've spoken with leaders in CARICOM, some who are in spaces and jurisdictions who are going for full membership as well. I've said long before we actually had our first CARICOM conversation with the minister, the Honorable Alexa Lightbourne, or some of those MPs, that I didn't see the problem. I'm a supporter of CARICOM on a broad scale. But the OBA has made it clear that it does not support Bermuda becoming a full member of CARICOM. What is the fundamental argument against full membership, and what specifically concerns you all about the direction the government is taking on this issue?
Well, the main concern for us is tangible benefits, right? I think that the debate has become kind of, well, whether or not it's justified for us to be connected to the Caribbean, or whether or not our roots to the Caribbean is under scrutiny. That's not the debate. The debate is, you're going into an economic sort of agreement with an organization, right, that happens to be at odds with one of our biggest trading partners, one of our biggest tourism partners, and also one of our sources of, the international business and insurance market that has propped up Bermuda over the years. So our fundamental concern is that when we looked at the government's arguments for full membership, they came off very aspirational and very emotional. And our issue is okay, you haven't laid out anything tangible of how you would protect Bermudians navigating the geopolitics that's unfolding in the Caribbean. How would you ensure that visa-free travel is maintained? When you say collaborating on education, what do you mean? Do you mean implementing some of the Caribbean's educational curriculums into ours, because they have some great programs on there, especially when it comes to medicine and health? So you're not saying anything tangible, and you're telling the Bermudian people to wait until the white paper. And we don't feel that's suitable to basically engage the public, and they have no real idea of what tangible benefits they're going to get if they go from associate to full membership. And so that is really, we're not against strengthening ties with CARICOM. We're not against strengthening ties with the Caribbean, any cultural exchange, anything like that. But when you take a certain leap, we want to see why you're doing that and how it will benefit Bermudians.
I think your arguments are fair. I don't disagree with anything that you just said. Here's my concern. My concern is, why are we not asking ourselves, well, why would the U.S. reconsider its relationship with Bermuda simply for creating a stronger relationship with jurisdictions more similar to us? Those are the questions I have. So maybe the conversation should be with the United States as to why would it be a bad thing? Like, Bahamas has an awesome relationship with the United States. They're a full CARICOM member. No, they don't have the visa-free travel like Bermuda. That's probably the only difference. But they don't have some of the concerns that have been brought up by the One Bermuda Alliance, which is freedom of movement and immigration, which have featured prominently in the debate. The government has indicated that Bermuda would seek to maintain control over its existing immigration policies. Now, if that can be secured, where does the OBA stand on that? Do you trust that this is something that we can move forward with?
Well, it's not so much it being a bad thing, right? We're going off of what's unfolding in real time. The president has decided to, of America, decided to kind of basically extradite Venezuela's president in the dead of night. They're also shooting up fishing boats and all manners of things in the Caribbean Sea. There has been friction within CARICOM towards America and vice versa, where America has removed visas or the ability to gain visas from certain countries in the Caribbean. So it's not us saying, well, it's going to be a bad thing. It's a clear geopolitical tension and friction that is there. And our concern is that if the government was wading into that friction, they should lay out to the Bermudian people how they will protect them and how they have had those conversations with America and gotten those assurances that, hey, we want to become full members of CARICOM, but we hope that that doesn't affect or that Bermudians don't experience the same friction that the rest of the CARICOM nations are experiencing. And CARICOM itself is divided on how it deals with America. So Bermuda kind of has to, as a government, you have to show people how you're going to chart that course. Are you going to side with Prime Minister Andrew Holness and Prime Minister Mia Mottley, or are you going to side with Camilla Prasad? You know what I mean? Like, it's two different schools of thought that could expose us in two different ways, right? And the government has been completely silent on how it will navigate Bermuda through that, and also how it intends to plant its feet down in full membership. It's okay to say I want to be full members, but how will you conduct yourself as full members? How will you vote? How will you present Bermuda? And those are things we haven't heard.
Yeah. Just for those who may not know, MP Robinson was speaking about the leaders of Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad and Tobago. Again, I think what you're saying is fair. I don't think anyone in good conscience tune into what you're saying right now would disagree. I think the geopolitical stuff it's serious. It's very serious, and it could have implications. But have you, the One Bermuda Alliance, engaged the government to get answers to this beyond the public, like beyond the House? Have you had and what responses have you received if you have engaged them?
Well, so we released, basically sent out 3 parliamentary questions from each of us in the ministries that we represent. And basically the answer was wait to the white paper, right? That was the reoccurring theme. Even in chats outside the House on CARICOM, I think that fundamentally there is not a lot of contention as far as the governments want to be closer to CARICOM. I think the contention comes from their lack of clarity on how they will protect and navigate Bermuda in CARICOM. So we have reached out, but the government has been cagey on details regarding exactly what they mean by collaboration on health, collaboration on education. Like, it's a lot of aspirational things, and we ask for specifics because our constituents are asking us for specifics, and we couldn't get any. And so we're looking to see how the white paper comes out. We did submit our position into the white paper, so we did collaborate with the government on producing a white paper so folks know where we stand, and also they can get the government's full position. But we haven't been able to get any tangible kind of concrete answers to tell our constituents as of yet.
Okay. Normally I wouldn't, but I want to go to the audience early. We've got Shamari Sky. Says the OBA is calling for a referendum on CARICOM, which is unprecedented. No country has had a referendum for CARICOM. So my question is, why is the OBA so focused on a referendum even before a white paper is released? Aren't you putting the cart before the horse? No, before you answer that, I'm completely against a referendum. I actually wrote a monologue last month, I think, about why we need to be careful what we ask for, right? As far as referendums, Bermuda's history with referendums, right? We had a referendum. We had a referendum last February. I continue to say that. The Bermudian people made a choice when they gave David Burt and his administration, the Premier of Bermuda, another term at government. Now, some people will say, well, CARICOM wasn't mentioned in their platform, but it's been mentioned over the years, full membership throughout, I think, even in the Brown speeches. But I personally, I'm letting you know before you respond, I don't agree with a referendum on this. Because of those reasons, but please take it away.
Well, the first thing is even referencing to the election, right? The Progressive Labour Party failed to achieve the popular vote. Yes, they got the majority of votes cast, but they did not get the actual popular vote to say that they have support of majority of Bermudians that voted, right? So our reason for the referendum is that, no government deserves a blank check. If you're introducing a policy or something that was not voted on by the electorate, the OBA believes that it should go to a referendum. And not only that, but also with the Omnibus survey, it shows that Bermudians are lukewarm on it, moving to full membership. So we only started calling for the referendum when government failed to justify its reasoning for going into full membership of CARICOM. Like they didn't present any actual concrete polling or anything like that to suggest Bermudians are in support of this. And so our goal was, okay, well, because Bermuda doesn't have the final say on whether we become full members of CARICOM or not, like it comes down to the UK and CARICOM, Bermudians should have a say on whether or not that process actually begins. So that is the reasoning behind the referendum, is to get our clarity on whether or not the majority of Bermudians do actually support becoming full membership. And if that is the case, we will then support or uphold the result of a referendum. And to say to wait till the white paper, I don't think that Bermudians should be in the dark all the way until government's final paper if you have their full support. You know, people should know the policies that any elected government is going to bring forward. You don't elect people because you like them and then say, oh, well, we'll wait and see how they govern or what they bring forward. No, that's why we have platforms. That's why we have policy consultations and things like that. And after the end of this government's consultation on this, it still seemed like quite a lukewarm reception from the public. And so that's the reason why we went for a referendum. It was kind of like a last ditch attempt to get the people to show or have a say as to whether or not they truly want to do it. And of course, that's going to be up to the government to do.
But I think I get what Amari Simons is saying here. He says if referendum doesn't make sense, I believe he means, well, voter apathy and misinformation are at an all-time high. I don't think a referendum is going to give us what we want. First, though, I don't think people are going to participate where the vote's going to make it's going to be legitimate, right? I just don't think people care. The reason I don't think people care is because they feel like they have more serious issues going on in the country that they want addressed, right? So I think it would be a waste of money. I get your point as to why you think it should be held, but I just think it would be, the next criticism would be they wasted money having this referendum.
Well, I think on that, Jamal, I just want to say, I think that kind of proves the point in a sense. If you have a referendum, right, and there isn't engagement, people don't come out, people say this is not a high-ranking issue on our docket that we think is worth having a referendum, and therefore we abstain it, that too is an answer as to, well, why is this such a big push from government if it's not something that's high on Bermudians' docket when it comes to issues they want to address? So I think it proves the same point in a sense.
But then, supporters, probably yourself included, of the LGBTQ community, they ain't thinking like that. So you feel me? That people, the vote wasn't legitimate because although the majority who did vote were against the idea of same-sex marriage, not enough people voted. So if we can use that for that argument, we can use it for that. And LGBTQ plus folks would not accept that. So why should those in favor of CARICOM?
Well, I think putting in my opinion, equality and a right up for vote, I think is different than making an economic decision, which is what joining full membership of CARICOM is, because it's not opening you up to any additional cultural. I mean, Bermudians who are culturally tied to CARICOM are already doing their business in CARICOM, have houses, have family, have reconnected. So it's not giving you any additional cultural license. You cannot deny culture, right? So if the referendum was, are we connected to the Caribbean? That would be a farce to me. That would be a similar take to, well, should people have marriage equality? Yes, if they pay taxes and they're citizens of Bermuda, then they should have equality. So I don't think that those two things are the same. But I do understand, and I don't agree with I will say on record that I don't agree with putting that to referendum. I didn't support it then, and I don't support it now, that marriage equality should have been up for referendum.
Well, I've said from the day as people were saying put conscription up for referendum, the rights of people should never be. So I don't disagree with you on that. But what was done is done, and I'm just comparing the end result to what you're saying the end result could be. That's it. So I definitely concur with you on that. Real quickly, MP, Amari Simon says, morning, JNMP. I believe the government have plans involving CARICOM that they don't want to tell us. Think digital currency. Speak to that, because there are a lot of members, this is something underhanded. There's something going on. They're not being fully transparent. What is the view of the One Bermuda Alliance regarding this stuff?
Well, I think that the as the aspersion there is part of the reason why we are so intent on getting answers, because a lot of people have come to us with various theories or concrete reasons, because a lot of Bermudians collect the dots, right? And so even though I won't say specifically whether or not they are attempting to, it does give the feel that they are unwilling to give concrete answers as to what their actual purpose is. Besides basically wanting to sit at the big table and being tired of sitting at the side table during their CARICOM meetings. But I do believe that, with the uprise of digital currency and, that regional connection, it could very well potentially be one of government's reasons, but they must come out and let people know what those reasons are.
Indeed. Let's go back to the audience, MP. We've got quite a few. They like you. um, we've got Stacey Madera says OBA's core supporters have shown that they aren't interested in CARICOM, much less the Caribbean. The town hall meeting certainly highlighted this. Now, the town hall meeting probably didn't go over well. There were some people who said some things, and it looked very un-Bermudian as far as what many people would say the demographics look like. Speak to how that impacts Bermuda moving towards something like CARICOM.
Well, I think when you talk about CARICOM, you can't deny the racial aspect of it, right? And our goal was to have a town hall which was open to everyone. We didn't make it members only. So anyone could have come. But I did acknowledge that obviously, the white community felt more comfortable coming to that town hall. And that's something that we all have to, sit down and wrestle with. But attending government's town hall, right? The criticisms, the things that people didn't like that were said by Black members of our community at government town halls as well. And so I think it shows that, number one, there needs to be a lot more education as to our ties historically with CARICOM and the Caribbean and the wider Caribbean. And I think that it shows that both communities actually tend to share very similar concerns. The only difference, I think, was that when we had ours out there for a live feed and for people to participate in at home, it was a more jarring visual for the Black community to see, basically an audience of majority white people speaking about their concerns on CARICOM. But I would say two things to that. Number one, Bermuda is, a multiracial society. And I think that when it comes to weighing in on culture, I don't believe that we had a town hall that weighed in on whether or not Black people are connected to CARICOM and deserve to have stronger ties to CARICOM. I think what you heard was, listen, this is what full membership concerns I have regarding CARICOM. And when I sat in the town hall of government, I heard it from very well-respected Black members of our community that they shared similar concerns. And it came across in the same kind of abrupt and direct way, because I think that's a Bermudian way. So I think we really have to look at the concerns more so, and whether or not they go across both communities. And I think they do.
So
and I think that we should.
You don't believe that race has something to do with people's disdain for Bermuda becoming a full CARICOM member?
No, I acknowledge that race definitely plays a part for a lot of people. I mean, that is why, unfortunately, with a town hall, you run the risk of comments being made that you don't necessarily align with. During the presentation, we as the OBA and myself as the shadow laid out that we don't intend to, bash the Caribbean, belittle the Caribbean. That is not the OBA's position officially, right? Like we have went through great pains to be respectful and understand how emotional this can be for folks who have Caribbean lineage, right? So we made sure to set that tone. But just like similar with government's town hall, where things can go off the rails, right? And people say, hey, sit down, buddy, sit down. Because once you open up for freedom of speech, right, and you hand somebody a mic, yes, you could try to intercede, but a lot of times people are going down a path and then they take a right or take a left, and people's freedom of speech comes out. But I think that that's kind of the messy part of a town hall, because obviously you're caught between trying to reprimand the person for using their voice, but also reminding them that, look, we're not tolerating racism, xenophobia, and any of that stuff. So that's why we try to lay it out in the beginning. But with a town hall, they can be messy. And, I think some comments were messy. They got away from us. And I take responsibility for that.
Dr. Anthony Richardson's asking, is the OBA's position on CARICOM full membership conditional on the current person in the White House?
No, our position is based off of the government's plan for the people and the people's desire to be full members of CARICOM. Like, if we saw an overwhelming response of people saying, yes, we've been waiting for this, this is something that, we're willing to go ahead with, we would. But we were inundated as soon as government made the announcement. So for the last year and some change, we have been pressed. And the thing is that I want to remind folks is that there is a stigma to being Black and attached to the OBA. So though we have a strong Black support base, a lot of times they are more so email, call, or tuning online. So we have gotten a lot of concerns and issues from the Black community that are saying, hey, we're not sure about this. Can you get more information? So we didn't come out and vote directly against full membership of CARICOM. What we came out and said was, look, where's the information? Can you provide us the information? When we didn't get that, we then said, look, we need to take it to the people, right? That was our last resort as the opposition. So I think that regardless of who's in the White House, if the government wants to be full members of CARICOM, then they should make sure that Bermudians are able to tell what direction they're going to chart, how they're going to navigate the geopolitical politics, and what tangible benefits Bermudians will get. And that's what our condition is. If those three things are met, go ahead.
All right. I want to go back to the audience because we had a question from Rhonda Trott says, does the OBA believe that we should sell ourselves for a visa? What is immoral, unethical, illegal that we should not join CARICOM? It's almost like the rich girl in high school determines who becomes friends with everybody else.
The main thing is, right, it's so interesting, that analogy, because honestly, Bermuda is entering the Caribbean discussion from government's point of view as a rich girl entering a high school. They want to have the benefit of going into CARICOM and using the funds and benefiting, but they also don't want to have freedom of movement. They don't want Caribbean people to be able to move here and live here freely and as equally as they could in other Caribbean nations that have freedom of movement. They also only want to deal with English-speaking members of the Caribbean. So it comes across very, uppity and I want to take, or I can buy my way in because Bermuda's GDP is so much higher. So, I'm going to pay a proportionally larger membership fee in order to become a member of CARICOM so that I can benefit from the mutual funds and all the other things that they say people will benefit from in the region, but haven't laid out exactly what those benefits are, but they have laid out what they won't do and what they will not participate in. And a lot of that can come across as a very colonial mindset, like English is the language in which you wish to deal in. I get that, but Africa speaks multiple languages. People in the Caribbean speak multiple languages. Why are we coming across in that way? So I think it's very interesting when, folks cast that aspersion onto the OBA, but the Progressive Labour Party is not presenting itself as anything but somebody who is, according to that analogy, a rich girl or selling themselves for a visa. I think that's a ridiculous way to put it. But I think you can look at both sides of the argument there and see how we're coming across to the Caribbean with our red lines that are basically saying, look, we want to benefit from you, but we don't want you to come here and be here. That's basically the crux of what government is presenting to Bermudians right now.
One last question. We've got Mark Arthur asking question. When the white paper is released, does that mean we are full members of CARICOM? Forgive my ignorance. Just explain the process.
No. So the white paper will be government's final position where they will include, specific statistics, numbers, and they will also include feedback from other sectors of the community. I believe it will be the business community, us, maybe charities. It will have a multifaceted information kind of paper that Bermudians can then go through and read fully and get government's position on what they've decided to do. From there, it will be on the government to petition the UK for the ability to go to full membership, and then that will be negotiated between CARICOM and the UK, because we cannot actually negotiate our own full membership of CARICOM. So that will be governed by a letter of entrustment, which the UK has already made quite clear that obviously we won't be able to vote on things that are under their remit constitutionally. So, like foreign affairs, defense, all of those things that are under the UK's remit. So though government may get the agreement to become full members, they will be hamstrung and unable to vote on most of the critical things within that. So there's still a lot of steps to go before we get to full membership of CARICOM. The OBA just wanted to start early to get the information to the people so that we're not finding ourselves at the end of that and folks don't know what's going on.
Charles is just asking real quickly, will the white paper include costs? I don't think I've seen that.
Yes. So the white paper should lay out, well, basically the membership cost. It should lay out basically what is going to be done as full members of CARICOM and have costs attached to that. Now, I do know that the government itself may be unable to grant a course of full membership because it will depend on the deals accepted by CARICOM from the UK on our behalf. But they should be able to give an idea of what cost they are going for and what the estimate is. Because they did give an estimate, but then they rescinded it when the estimate caused a lot of backlash in the community.
This is it's an emotional topic. One of my things was we keep saying that Bermuda needs people. And it always felt like there were a certain type of people that different people, depending on our politics, wanted in Bermuda. I'm not in favor of freedom of movement for reasons that we don't have time to go into today, but I am in favor of, recruiting from areas closer to Bermuda where people are more familiar with Bermuda and the like. That to me is a positive thing that can come from this. I thought initially, Guyana has more food than, it has residents. It's a great place. Maybe we can partner. And then I spoke to some business people who kind of, it doesn't really work like that, Jamel. My question to you and the OBA is, what are some of the positives that you see that can come out of full membership if it were to be, get to that point?
Well, I think we would see the benefit of having access to the skilled labor, but I think a lot of the benefits that we support, we already get under the associate membership. Like we can already amend our immigration policy to get more skilled workers and skilled laborers from the Caribbean. I do believe that obviously culturally it's a benefit because a lot of our people do come from the Caribbean. So I think that's a benefit. But again, I think a lot of the benefits we can get as associate members, like we can be maximizing our associate status now to basically increase cultural awareness, to do cultural exchanges. I mean, we're already a part of CARILAC for electricity in the region. We've participated in CARIFESTA. We have a lot of ties. I think that one of the main things is what is the difference? What are the benefits that we can have as full members that we don't currently enjoy as associate members? And the only tangible benefit I can see is the ability to sit in the leadership rooms and have our voices heard at the regional level of CARICOM when it comes to their prime ministers and leaders. But unfortunately, even in that case, we will be restricted as an overseas territory on what we can vote on and what we can speak on. So it's not like I see it as all doom and gloom. I don't think it's particularly, I'm not against getting closer to the Caribbean, but I struggle to find benefits that are outside of our associate membership at this time, which we support.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair, MP. I know you've got to run, and I think you answered quite a few people's questions, including Dr. Seaman had asked about exhausting. She just said, exhaust the benefits of CARICOM as an associate member, enjoy getting to understand it and experience its benefits. Then we can buy into it with proper knowledge. And so I think that's kind of what you were saying just now. I don't want to speak for you, but you kind of were saying like we kind of pretty much get everything. But I want to make the point that you're making. People have said it before that even if we were to become full members, as a British overseas territory, our governor still might be the person in those rooms sitting with the leaders like the Honorable Amir Motley of Barbados and Andrew Holness, the Prime Minister of Jamaica. So I think that's the point that you don't want people to miss. In saying all of what we've discussed, because I know you got to run. I love talking to you, though, by the way. I really do. We can talk for hours and hours. But
I appreciate you.
For his family. But MP, what would you say to Bermudians tuned in this morning? One, those who know absolutely nothing about CARICOM. Two, those who are in full support of CARICOM. And three, those who are completely against CARICOM. All three of those, what would you say to them?
Well, to the first point, for the person that may not know much about CARICOM, I want to stress the fact that, your cultural ties and your heritage is not up for debate here, right? And I understand that the argument is being framed by some on the other side that, this is a referendum on your heritage or cultural ties. It is not. We in the One Bermuda Alliance accept, treasure, and completely understand that we have a strong community of Bermudians, including myself, who have families that can trace themselves back to the Caribbean. So I want to be clear that if you aren't aware of what's happening regarding this debate, that is something that you walk away with, is that it's not about whether or not you are connected to the Caribbean. We already are. We're associate members of CARICOM. Our bloodlines and all that trace throughout the Caribbean. So that's not up for debate. That is a fact. But at the same time, you have to look at the economic ramifications and also the social ramifications that we could potentially be experienced to by powers that are outside of us. And I think the second one was for people who know about it but have concerns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was those who are in full support and those who don't support it at all.
So to the folks who are in full support of CARICOM, I want to basically say to you that we respect your opinion. This is not dismissing whether or not we should be full membership, even though the OBA has said that based on the information available, we don't believe that going past associate membership is beneficial for the island at this time with what's presented. That doesn't mean that we're dismissing you or we don't want to hear from you or that we are diminishing your want to be a full member of CARICOM. We totally accept that, which is why we haven't come out and said, look, let's just scrap it. We don't want to hear about it. We want the dialogue. We want the conversation from all sides and all demographics of Bermuda, because we want, if we do become full members, for all of Bermuda to be on board, or at least majority of Bermuda to be on board, so that we can benefit potentially. We're leaving it to government to really define what those benefits might be. To folks who are against it, I would say to be respectful in your opinions, right? I've gone through great pains to be as respectful as I can to folks who are completely on board with full membership. The problem I think we have in politics right now is that we don't know how to disagree politely and cordially, right? We don't know how to have debates where we're on two different sides and be respectful with them. So what I would say is if you have a strong reason that you don't support full membership of CARICOM, correlate that and present it in a way in which you're talking to somebody not to attack them or belittle them, but to explain your reason why. And I think a lot of times we don't do that in politics, which is why I laid out so many points in my statements, my speeches, for tangible reasons why I believe we should stick to associate membership. And I encourage those who are against it to do the same, and to also open your mind to why folks do want to be full members, and hopefully use this as a way for us to understand each other and not to divide us amongst multiple differences.
Indeed. MP Robinson, thank you so much. Folks, I'm going to tell you something real quick before he leaves. I'm going to put him on the spot. I hit him up. What was it? Right before Cop Match or right after? I said, hey, do you want to, we'd like to have you on discuss. Look, man, I'm trying to cause the domestic. My wife said, no politics, nothing. I for that because I want people to, I want to humanize people. Like, these are real people. They're us. You all are one of us. They have families. They have lives. And I appreciate you not necessarily sticking to a promise, but once, you were able to get back to it, making yourself available to have this discussion. We can all read about in the news or see clips of what you're saying, but to be able to engage and ask you questions directly and engage you about how you feel. To me, there's no need to be hostile towards one another, even about emotional topics. I'm beyond that. Honestly, conscription taught me a lot. People will feel how they feel. Even if you give them facts and information, some people will never change, and that's okay. As long as they don't try to cause harm to another intentionally. That's where we're at. So I appreciate you always being willing and open to having discussions. I don't agree with you taking accountability for those who showed up to the town hall and said what they said. At the end of the day, we can't be responsible for other adults, even if we're putting stuff on. We tell people the rules and things. No, it is, maybe mature of you to do that, but you are not responsible for what those people said. But you do know for next time, look, hey, we're going to shut you down midway if you say something or something like that. But no, I appreciate your willingness, your openness. I'm still all about full CARICOM membership. I am. But my mind can be changed. I do have more questions. I do have questions after speaking with people. I have questions after speaking with you this morning. I do. I think your points were extremely valid. I'm more of a person where I was all for it before the government came forward with this. So for me, it's about convincing me to tell me why not rather than why. And I started with, I'm on board. Before the government came out with this, I was always on for it because I saw opportunities. Again, I'm not 100% anymore. If I was 10 of 10, I'm probably down at a 7 because I've spoken with, businesses in Bermuda and different CEOs who have brought about concerns and yourself. So I'm a 7 right now. But again, I think the beauty in me is that my mind can be changed, folks. With information, with conversation, and just sincere engagement. But thank you once again, MP Robinson. They've got to run. Don't be a stranger. There's other things we need to talk about. All right?
Absolutely. You know that. Just for that 1 week, though, I had to be.
Look, I'm not trying to get in any domestics, man. I'm not trying to do that. But have a good one. Tell your family we said thank you as well, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, thank you. Be safe.
All righty. MP Dwayne Robinson, folks. Don't go anywhere. We're going to come back. We'll wrap it up. Got a daily play for you as well, but stick with us because I appreciate very much his time and the engagement this morning.
Children love to play and have fun. And they love gifts even more, especially ones that they can enjoy and learn from. With Bermuda Trivia coloring books, kids can explore the island while they color, learn, and create. The perfect activity for fun and learning together. Available now.
Visit BermudaTrivia.com and follow Bermuda Trivia on your favorite social media platforms to learn more.
For over 70 years, Bermuda Pest Control has been protecting homes and businesses island-wide. We offer a full suite of services, including rodent control, termite fumigation, and general insect control and maintenance. Our team of experts will quickly and efficiently eliminate any pest problem you may have. With Bermuda Pest Control, you can enjoy a pest-free home in no time. We're committed to providing fast, reliable, and solution-driven services for our customers. It's what we've been doing since 1952. Call Bermuda Pest Control today and say goodbye to pests for good.
Dreaming of expanding your business? With BDC's Loan Guarantee Program, we support your ambitions. Get up to 75% guarantee on bank or credit union loans up to $300,000. Just your vision and our support. Apply today and unlock new business opportunities. BDC, Bermuda business starts here.
Life moves fast, and so can the unexpected. When you insure your home, you need to know that your insurance company has your back. At Friesenbrook, let one of our friendly and professional agents give you that peace of mind. Because when you are covered, you are confident. Call us at 296-3600 or visit friesenbrook.bm to learn more.
Sometimes, all we need is to relax. Take our minds away from it all. A midday break from the busy day. And just a little time to ourselves. Relax. Take a break. And unwind with Bermuda Trivia's crossword puzzle book. Available now across Bermuda. Visit bermudatrivia.com and follow Bermuda Trivia on your favorite social media platforms to learn more. Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. Thanks again to MP Dwayne Robinson for stopping by. Appreciate you all for engaging as well. Big shout out to our partners, the BAC Group of Company, HSBC Bermuda, Medical House Lindos, People's Pharmacy, and big shout out to Hot 1075 for ensuring we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. Folks, it is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right. It is entertainment today. This is the easiest question you will get in a while. Folks, what are the names of Bart's parents in The Simpsons? Yes, at the buzzer. WKD Llama has gotten it. It was Homer and Marge. Flo and Homer. No, Renee Sherlin. It was Marge and Homer Simpson. Yes, Aphis. Marge and Homer Simpson. Does The Simpsons still come on? Like, I remember when I was young and I wanted to watch that because I thought it was a cartoon. And Mom's like, that's not a cartoon. And it was the first time I remember like adults watching something that was animated, that looked like a cartoon supposed to look. But man, Bart was so rude when I was young. Has Bart grown up? Like, is the baby still a baby? What's her name? Lisa? What's the baby name? There were 3 children. Bart. No, Maggie. Maggie's the baby, right? Anyway, enough about The Simpsons. All right, folks, let's wrap it up. Gotta let you go. Been hanging around a bit later this morning. But as far as the discussion this morning, look, I think we need to determine what incentivizing looks like. Do we incentivize children to who are improving in school, or as a way to get them to improve? I say yes. Life is about incentives. Life is about incentives. Yes, we need to have standards, but standards do not eliminate the need or opportunity to have incentives. So yes, I'm a believer that children should be incentivized to improve academically. As far as the conversation with MP Dwayne Robinson, always appreciate conversations, even if I disagree with the topic or with a person's perspective. I began as a believer that full CARICOM membership should be a no-brainer. For me, it was about building relationships with as many partners as possible. Some people are fans that the government is building relationships in the Middle East. We already have great relationships with North America and through the EU. Why not another relationship? No, what I don't want to do is I don't want to go full hard any way that's going to jeopardize relationships in another space. And I need to be assured that us developing stronger ties with one group doesn't impact our ties with others. So I understand those concerns, but I am a believer in building stronger ties if it makes sense. Economically, systemically, yes, emotionally as well. I'm all for it. All right, folks, let me give you some daily inspiration and let you on your way. This is from my book, The Journey Within, page 32. Quote, clarity is king. You can say the exact same thing to 10 different people, and all 10 may interpret it. What is said differently? Perspective, end quote. Perspective, folks. Perspective. Do what you will with that. Alrighty, folks, do not forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC Bermuda, Medical House Lindos, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 107.5 for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. As always, we appreciate you. We love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamel Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are Is Out. Peace.